Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio, a podcast fueled by a passion to support your journey in developing your most beautiful and optimal performance in life. Each episode is driven with the intention to elevate your mind. When we elevate our mind, we elevate our life. So get ready. It's time to rise. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Black Belt Beauty Radio. In today's episode, I'm going to break down an idea that came to me surrounding my professional career life, just doing the introspective work that I do, just kind of really just playing back parts of my life, segments. This is something I do often, right? This is how I help my self-development process, make growth and really just understand more of myself and my journey. And the reason why I want to bring in this up into an episode now is because just recently, one of my dearest friends was married and I did her makeup for her wedding. And, I had posted on my stories, I pulled out my pro brushes again. And some of my Instagram community, responded like, oh, wow, so a lot of you may not know that the larger part of my career life was spent doing professional makeup in the celebrity realm, right? So pulling out the pro brushes again, because, they don't get used in that way anymore, right? So why I want to talk about this, I've talked about my freelance career or bits of it in other episodes, but why I feel like this is valuable to share now is because when I came to this idea that I touched on at the very top of this episode, where I'm doing this introspective work and I'm looking back at my career life and I'm thinking about things, and I'm like, wow, I came up with this concept of skill work versus purpose work. And this could be something that could be really useful to you, just to think about this idea. You might be in this place where your work is very skill focused, or you might be deep into your purpose work. And this is really like kind of life mission stuff. Skill is absolutely applied there too, but it's just you're coming at your career from a different perspective, from a different a different lens, a different approach, right? Both of these are so important. Both of them matter. And I'm going to break that down a bit. But what this could also be useful for is, let's just say you're not in either or. Let's just say you don't feel like you are really in a place where you are so skill driven, in your career, or, certainly not purpose or mission vision are driven. And you find yourself, in a position in your career life where you're unsatisfied, you're unhappy. And I think just pointing out the skill work versus purpose work can at least provide like a sense of like, almost like a lighthouse, right? So it's okay if you're not in either of these categories, which I'm about to break down, but at least, if let's just say, you're that person right now, you are in a place where you're not happy in your work life, right? Maybe then the next step is to go, well, how do I get myself into a position where I'm really focused on utilizing my skills or developing my skills and having that drive me and my work, my career, So let me break this down to make this a little easier to understand the concept. So skill work versus purpose work. And I'm going to use my life as the example because this is where it came from. So, and I did things before my professional freelance career. I went full commitment to my freelance makeup career around the age of 30, or just before 30, actually. Like, I think it was like 28 or something like that. Prior to that, I was doing other things. I worked in events, I worked in music, and I had started doing makeup earlier on, but and when I first started it, I loved it. I was like, this is it. I mean, I will never, ever forget the day that I made my first business card as a makeup artist. And, I've always been an artist. I've always been, asked my mother, she will always, she loves telling the story of how she used to have to follow me around because I was always painting on the walls. So that is always, I've always loved to express with color, just art basically with my hands. And what was so cool for me is, then through high school, it just became fun, for me to get my girlfriends ready. And that's kind of how it started. And then, fast forward, my life living in Hawaii is where I would initially start, and I would make the business card and like go, oh, okay, I'm moving forward as a makeup artist, but then move into I had other interests, and I also had other skills, other things that excited me. I really loved certain aspects of business, specifically in the area of production, like putting events together and then, being in this event that you created from scratch, and you had to get very scrappy. I had to get scrappy, me and my partner, to produce it. And now I'm at this successful event, and that felt really good. So, sharing this backstory, A, for you to know me more, but B, for you to really get the concept of where I'm taking you in this episode. So, you know, it would be several years where I would kind of teeter back and forth, a little bit of makeup, do that stuff, a little bit, and just allowing myself to just, you know, explore and to feel. And that was really important. And maybe that's something really important to highlight here. It's that um, what I didn't do is feel like I had to be attached to something, which doesn't mean that I was fleeting or, I wasn't rooted when I decided. I absolutely, when I made up my mind, I was going for something, I fucking went. But if I felt like I wanted to try this over here because it was inspiring me, whatever that was, like events, for example, after starting makeup, I allowed myself to do that, It's so important. We're not here to just be one thing, in my opinion. No, that we're here to continuously evolve. And how we allow ourselves to evolve is to not, put these shackles on us that say, no, this is who you are and this is what you're supposed to do. And that really takes us into a deeper conversation. But I just want to, go through this, timeline, if you will, of my backstory to get to these points around skill versus purpose work. But if I can remember, I'll try and come back to that and touch on it a bit more. But yeah, so cut to, I commit and I go full-time freelance, which means, you guys, for those of you who don't know, means you're moving from job to job. And it was this like I had to build my book, I had to build, my relationships, my network, like all of that. And it was all, I was starting from scratch. It was a lot. But when I got to that place where, I decided to go all in on the freelance, I had moved back from New York to LA. I moved from LA. It had been, I think at that time, I was gone for about 15 years. I lived in France. I went to an artistic academy for makeup out in Paris. I lived around the world. I, moved from Hawaii to New York to Paris, back to New York, and now I'm back in LA. And I got to that place where I'm like, I'm ready to go all in on this. And it comes natural. I love this skill and I want to get better at it. And I want to see what I can do with this. I believe that I'm capable of, taking it to the top. And I had the vision of, doing the covers of magazines and the music videos and the Oscars. I felt like I want to give it a shot, And so I went in and I committed. And it was a very arduous journey, again, psychologically, to be a freelance artist is so gnarly. It is incredible. And it truly has served me and continues to serve me on such tremendous levels, right? Because you have to get so reliant on you. There are times where there ain't no work. Figure it out. What are you going to do? Do you crumble? Do you, fall apart? Do you submit? Do you feel hopeless, or do you get resourceful? Do you really lean into your faith? Do you, do things to stay active and get yourself out there more and just find ways to keep the energy flowing you towards the work, right? Well, yeah, we already know what my answer is there, right? But it's not easy to do that because it's very easy in those moments to feel like you're not making progress, to not know what you're going to do. I've certainly, I hit a lot of gnarly, rough spots where it was like, fuck, now what? You're like, I felt exhausted. I had done everything. And then there's that like old, quote of, it's the last key that turns the door, right? You have to be creative, and you have to believe that you actually hold that key, right? So you keep turning them, and that's your effort, right? And so moving the story forward, I would climb. I would climb, and it would be over the span of like almost 20 years. But, well, that's not true. I'm calculating from when I started makeup initially. So I would say from going to full commitment freelance to the top 1%, it was about 10 years, right? And mastery, right? The hours, 10,000 hours or something like that. Certainly a lot more in 10 years. But anyways, um, so yeah, got to the top 1%. What does that mean? That means that I was being flown around the world in private jets, not as a constant, but that was a part of my career at that time, right? So that was not an uncommon thing for me to get booked, to go on the press tours, to, you know, um, just have clients that were doing, award shows, to do the music videos, to work with, celebrity athletes, like all that stuff was my work, right? And I built that, working with some of the best photographers and directors that exist, and working in really strong teams with the hair and the styling. And it was incredible, and it really was incredible because, again, like, I worked my ass off to get to that point. I had developed a relationship with one of the leading brands in skincare and makeup, and became a consultant for them and helped them develop their makeup line. It was really, when you're in it, it's harder to kind of see all the things that you're doing because you're just so focused on that continual build. But that's why this was such a cool moment for me when I was reflecting on this. And I got to this place of like, wow, skill versus purpose, because I looked and I was like, girl, you really did accomplish a lot. Holy shit, And what I can say is that career, that portion of my career life, which I so have deep respect for so many reasons. I mean, what I learned about myself, again, the psychological aspect of things, like the fortitude, the attributes that I developed being a freelance makeup artist in one of the most competitive industries, climbing from below zero to the top 1%. It's incredible, and there's skill transfer there. It has carried over into my life, and even into, this part of my career life now, right? But what I want to share is that, you know, I never, throughout that journey and that part of my career life, um, I never identified myself as, oh, I'm a makeup artist. Let me explain what that means, because there's nothing wrong with that title. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for it. But what I mean is that it was something that I did. It was something that I did very well, and it was something that I did that I loved, but it was not who I am, right? It is not Roxanne Saffaie. Roxanne Saffaie practices, she's professionally a makeup pro, a makeup artist, right? But it's not who I am. And the differentiation there is so important. The work that I do now is who I am, right? You could even find a bit of separation in that as well, but it's pretty much the closest thing. Like, I'm here right now with you as who I am. Like, this is me, right? But there is a camera, and this is, a skill as well. But this is mission work. This is purpose work. This is different. What's so cool when I realized this about my makeup and the skill aspect of it, I realized I was running adjacent to my mission and my purpose work the whole time. And I'll explain what that means. So when you sat in my chair, for the most part, there was always going to be conversations around the things that I talk about, like things on the show, psychology, mindset, anything that's going to optimize your health, training, neuroscience, like whatever. It was all self-development. That was always the conversation with me. That, and what was so fun for me, as an artist, was not, especially the realm of work that I was in, because usually when you're doing celebrity and entertainment, yes, there are some highly creative moments, but it's very different than, being a makeup artist that's focused just in fashion. I did the shows in Paris. I've done it in New York. I've definitely, done that work as well. So I know what that work is like, and it's incredible. But when you're doing the red carpet for the Oscars, or you're not going like super avant garde, right? So what ends up happening is you're essentially really just bringing out the best of your client, right? And it was so fun for me because I could influence how they felt about themselves, right? Their psychology and their emotional state just from, the effects of my work on them, through makeup, right? So if you kind of put all that together, it's like, well, I'm in conversation with, talking about the things that I love, that I talk about here and now. And it was always, enjoyed and received really well in the rooms, And then also I was enjoying the process of, bringing my clients into a state where they felt really good and they could perform, the way that they needed and wanted to perform, with whatever it was. Do you see how that can connect over here? Because that's what am I doing right now? I'm here sharing information with you that could potentially, hopefully, I believe, to support you in some way, or shape, or form, right? All the content on the podcast, all the podcast or Instagram content, all the stuff, right? Everything that I share, all the talks that I do, it's for that reason, right? So this is why I say I was running adjacent to my purpose work. I knew kind of like right down the middle of my makeup career that I had more to do. Like there was other aspects of just my interests, and like I just felt a calling that I would be doing other things. What I didn't do, and I feel like it's so important to share this because it could support you right now. You could be feeling this, but I didn't put pressure on myself about what it needed to be. And I certainly wasn't coming from a place where I was dissatisfied. That was also very important. I was climbing in my career, right? So this wasn't the result of me not being happy with what I was doing in my career life. No, I was climbing and I had a lot more to go, and I was super driven and passionate to keep these skills advancing and everything that comes with it, to advance my career. But my heart whispers were letting me know, like, hey. And I was like, all right. Well, so what I did is I just stayed open. I was like, I'm just gonna, it'll come to me, right? Fast forward, what ends up coming to me was, through my love of podcasts, through my love of self-development, through my love of listening to really incredible health experts around the world, like all of this stuff, especially through the medium of podcasts, um, inspired me to start my podcast, Black Belt Beauty Radio, right? Which actually first started as a blog. So at first it was taking all the feedback that I was constantly getting throughout my life. I literally just like throughout my life, whether it was, you helped me with, when I had to, say this to somebody, nutrition, diet, like whatever it was, just to speed up the story, to keep it moving. I took all this feedback that I had received or was still receiving from individuals, and then also took into account how all that positive feedback, that affirming feedback, was coming as a result of me just doing what I love. I love sharing. I love sharing what I know to be supportive. I love sharing what I know to be useful, to help you become, a greater you, for your potential to expand, for your health optimization, all of that, right? So it was really easy. Like I was just being me, doing what I naturally love and do, and the feedback was incredible. This is really important because sometimes, in fact, I say most of the time, when people are thinking about purpose and, what's my big mission in life, it's like you're not able to notice that it's these natural things, these natural gifts, these natural passions. They're so natural to you that you don't credit them as something that could be driven as as part of your career life, like to create a career around it, right? Um, but you can, obviously, you know? But here's the thing. When I started the podcast, after I kind of moved on from this blog because I was like, okay, I love it, but I'm not trying to sit at a computer all day, every day. It's just, if you know me, you know I like to play outside. Also, I want to interact with people, right? So yes, I do a lot of solosodes. There's a lot coming up, but I love being in conversation with people. And even when I'm doing solosodes, you guys, I feel like I'm in the room with you, and hopefully that's what you're feeling too, right? That's the goal for me. So it was not necessarily easy because it's a form of public speaking, and it's me having to use my voice in a way where I hadn't done before, but I committed. I went in and and I started the podcast, and we're just about moving into 5 years now, which is incredible. I'm so proud of myself, and I'm just and so grateful for all of you, because it's just continuously growing on such a massive level, actually. And I couldn't be more grateful about it. So, because now let's move into the purpose work, right? So we got skill work. Skill work is important. It's you being focused on a skill or some skills that you have, and you're in a position, work position, where you are driving yourself to develop these skills and have these skills help to, give you advances in your career life, right? It's so important. Purpose, mission work, um, again, skill is absolutely a thing here. I'll use a podcast for an example. When I first started podcasting, you guys, I was so nervous. Oh my God. I will never forget, like, trying to do the first episode. It was a practice episode with one of my dearest friends, and just having the microphone made me nervous. It's crazy. Um, it's definitely a skill that I have developed. And really, I think it's me just getting out of my way of my fear, because naturally I am a communicator, but there's still skill involved. And, then there's other aspects of my business. I'm a digital entrepreneur where I have to implement skill. But the driving mission isn't, this, how could I be the best podcaster in the world? Nothing wrong with that. It's more for me of how can I continuously create the most, you know, incredible, um, uplifting, elevating, fortifying, just motivating, even though I want you to be intrinsically motivated, but you know what I'm saying? Like, supportive content that will help all of my community realize their potential, operate from your most authentic self, and fucking kick ass and thrive in life, right? That is a very different mission and, approach to my work, you know? Um, why I felt again that this is could be useful to you. Now I'm going to kind of pull it all together here. So number 1, now if you didn't know before, prior to my podcast, I launched my podcast while I was still doing makeup. Um, but becoming, creating my digital business and really just going all in on my speaking, writing, and coaching career, I spent the larger part of my career life as a celebrity makeup artist, which again, I have so much love and respect for. And again, what it has offered me mentally, psychologically, when 2020 hit and everything was like, what the fuck is going to happen? Oh, you better believe I called on those skills, those days in my makeup career where I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. Like, shit got real like that, I mean, it got real like that. And I had to figure it out. I had to lean into my heart and trust and move with courage and be resourceful and do all those things, right? So when 2020 happened, I mean, I was definitely in a different position in my life, in a lot of ways. Financially, obviously, I had been, I was already at the top of my career. But I mean, we were facing a time where, I don't know. I didn't know what was going to happen next. And that's my point, is that the freelance part of my life really helped me to develop such strong skills to manage uncertainty, right? My the purpose aspect of work is so important too. And, somebody asked me recently, like, how do I even find my purpose? Well, like, I don't even know how to like get up and like create a, have like set goals for myself. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. So I'm not going to take us into the weeds with that. But what I want to point out here is look, you're either going to be in a place where you don't like your work at all, right? And if that's where you are right now, I'm holding a lot of compassion for you. It's not an easy place to be in. There could be a lot of different reasons that you're in that place. But if you are in a position where that's you and you do have, this is the one thing that you do have, right? Like we know, is you have a mind that can either be creating from fear or a mind that can be creating from possibility, right? If you could start to lean into more of the possibility route and less of the fear, because you're creating no matter what, right? So you really do, in general, everybody, we want to be creating from possibilities, right? Possibilities that serve us. This is where optimism comes in, right? And if you can just start even looking in that direction without putting too much pressure on yourself, of, oh, I have to figure it out or I have to find a new this or that, and just start paying attention to what do you enjoy, you know? What are things that come so natural to you that you might not even be paying attention to it? What's the feedback? What do people turn to you for? What do people compliment you on a lot? Pay attention. It's all information, right? Then you can start to potentially see either you're going to, from that, you can start to position yourself to want to develop a skill. Maybe it's like, you know what? You always get compliments on your photographs, whenever you take pictures, people are always like just saying things about it. So maybe it's something like a side thing that you want to start investigating and developing your skills, right? And then that can turn into skill work, right? And into a like skill career. Or maybe you're someone in the skill aspect of your life, right? And you're like, cool, this has been great. I'm feeling really good, but I know that there's like more that I want to do. Because I think in life, like for the most part, the majority of us want to feel like we're contributing. We just do. It just, you get to a place in life where, and I mean, we see this a lot like later, like people get to such pinnacle moments in their career, right? Maybe it's an actor, maybe whatever. And then it's just like, how do I give back? Because, and I think that's a very inherent, like a primal kind of response because we're here to live together, right? Humans, right? So I feel like it's this deep rooted, like a gene in all of us that at some point or another is going to come out and go, hey, what are we going to do about this? Like, what do we want to contribute with? And when we don't feel like we're, activating that gene, upregulating it and expressing it, it can feel very difficult. You can feel like, you're getting up and you're kind of just moving through life and there's no real substance to it, right? That's why helping people feels so good. It's I feel like it's part of the human design. We are here to help each other, right? So if you are in that place in your career life where you've been so hyper focused on skill and maybe you're kicking ass in it, or maybe you're tired or whatever it is, you could be anywhere on the spectrum. I just want you to do really the same thing, not put pressure on yourself and just think and pay attention. What are the things that are really, what are you paying most attention to? Like for me, again, I'm so into psychology, so into neuroscience, so into health optimization through integrative functional medicine, right? So into poetry, so into philosophy. I have a lot of interests. Like this is what I do on my Friday and Saturday night. Like this is what, I pay attention to. If you look at my web browser on my phone, it's all of what I just shared with you, right? So creating a podcast where I get to have conversations in all of these areas with some of the best, elite experts in the world in these different areas, and also just rap out about this stuff with you, in Solosodes. Yeah, it wasn't hard for me to realize that this is something that was lighting me up. What was hard initially was, having the courage to actually do it, but I did. because when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And also I listen to my heart. And that's the other piece here that's so important, and I talk about a lot. So, if you're in that place and you're, wherever you are actually, not happy with work, skill, you're in the purpose. I think it's just always so important to, in general, to listen to the heart, but focusing on the career aspect of things right now. Listen, your heart, I feel, is the truth. It's where you are accessing your highest self. It's where you access your intuition. So even if you're in, let's just say, a really high point of your purpose and your mission, we want to keep the channel open to make sure that, whenever it's time to evolve or maybe we have to start a new project over here or step into new territory over here, we just want to make sure that we're open and able to receive this information so that we can do it because we're here to evolve. It's so important. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not evolving, you likely feel like shit, or if you don't feel yourself evolving, right? Because it's really, everything is energy. So this is stagnant energy. That's why it doesn't feel good. It feels better to be trying, to be, let's just say like you're knocking on doors. Oh, that door didn't work. That door didn't work. That feels better. Even those doors not working and you even being tired just from the efforting than just feeling nothing, not trying. That's stagnant energy. Energy needs to move. It needs to be expressed, right? I believe that when we are tuned into our heart, we are better able to receive the information that's going to direct us to whatever it is that we need to do, right? To keep us evolving, right? So I'm going to end it there because I feel like that's a strong place. There's a lot that I shared, personal history of my career life, story, and all that. And the concept again, skill work versus purpose work. And then, just speaking to all of you, wherever you are, in the career or work part of your life, maybe you're not even in career parts yet. You're still kind of moving from job to job. Still, the information here is valuable because I'll never forget that when my sister told me that. She, initiated career versus job to me. And I was, this is my late teens, but it made a big difference. And that is not to confine you to one thing. Again, that's one of the greatest takeaways from this episode, but it is to say that, you want to get yourself into a position where you can actually be developing yourself and your skills. You're learning more about yourself. You're contributing, in any which way, wherever that you are at that point of your work life, your career life. Because again, we have energy that we need to express and we are here to evolve. And that's how we're going to continuously do it. And also, obviously, staying tuned into your heart. So I would love to know if this episode supported you in some way, if it gave you an aha moment, like whatever it did. Honestly, I'm open to all feedback. All my YouTube community, you guys are awesome. I'm seeing the comments. I'm loving it. And it really helps because I create this content for you. So knowing how this is impacting you makes the biggest difference, right? Because I keep rolling up and just serving it to you to support you. That's what I'm here to do. So I do believe that there was something in here for you to take from and for you to gain from. That's my goal. That's my mission. So, I'm just sending you so much love wherever you are in your life. Compassion, hold it for yourself. Be a fiercely compassionate person to self. Stay open, tune into your heart as a constant, and fucking keep it moving. Do not become stagnant. It's okay if you get tired, but just don't do nothing because that is debilitating, right? All right, you guys, I will see you in the next one. Ooh, if you have not already given this podcast a 5-star rating and review, please do so. Makes a massive difference. Downloads are growing, audience is growing, and I want you to know that it's because of you. So please help us out. There's a very easy link in the show notes. So anywhere you get the podcast, you're able to quickly do this. And it really, again, it means so much to me and my team. So, all right, you guys, I will see you on the next one. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, you guys. If you loved it, please share it on your social. Throw it up on your Instagram stories and tag me. I'm at Black Belt Beauty. I am also at Roxy Look. RoxyLook. I love connecting with you guys. This is a conversation that I want to just continue growing with you guys. So if you feel inspired to hit me up, do so in that space. I always enjoy hearing from you. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by rating it and reviewing it via iTunes. It's such supportive help, you guys. It really helps the visibility of this podcast. So I appreciate and thank you in advance for doing that. And on that note, you guys, I'm signing off with all my love and always looking forward to catching you on the next.